Hey everybody, welcome to the Purpose People podcast. Today, I've got James Wilson from Soccer Shooters, so welcome.
Well, thank you.
So you joined us at a very tough time for me, obviously 2 defeats in 1 week, in terms of being a Liverpool fan and you being a...
I'm a big Aston Villa fan.
Big Aston Villa fan.
Got a claret bottle there for you.
Yeah, and you're going to show us how you beat PSG.
Exactly, yeah. Well, fair play to you, coming head on with it. Stopping any banter from my side at all.
Just get it out of the way. Just get it done. I've already had my one of my team, Geordie Nathan, just let him feed back to me for an hour, but we won't talk about it again. So,
and I see you wearing black and white out of respect for the opposition.
Absolutely. I mean,
looking like a magpie to this morning.
I see he's on it already. So, Soccer Shooters. So, tell us the story. Where did it all begin for you? You know, was it a dream at school that you wanted to get into sport and coaching? Was it about being a professional? Where did it start?
None of those really, I don't think. I think it's just a combination of a number of serendipity moments, really. So I always felt like I was going to be a teacher. I thought one day I'll be a teacher. Mm-hmm. And then I used to play a lot of basketball, play a lot of football, but it was easier getting into teams when you're 6'4", so I got into the basketball teams easier than I got into football teams. But my love was always football. And I guess one serendipitous moment was I was playing basketball for a team in Bristol, and I got injured, ligament damage. Nothing too crazy, but enough to take me out for a year.
Right. Okay.
And in that time, I was like, I really, really want to coach football, because I always wanted to coach football as well for a bit of fun. So I did a coaching badge.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it all started, really. So it was never. Then I started doing a little bit of coaching. But it was never an end game. It was just, I loved coaching. I loved, like I said, I wanted to be a primary school teacher.
What badge was that?
Well, funny enough, I went straight to the FA Level 2.
Oh, right, okay.
Which was, this is going back over 20 years. So they had something back in those days called the Junior Team Manager, which is gone. And they introduced a Level 1 after that, and I think it's changed again. But I went straight to the Level 2. But I wasn't ready for Level 2. I mean, I was teaching like 5-year-olds literally how to kick a ball. Yeah. And this was all phases of play and like it was. I never ever used it for what I did. Yeah. But yeah, so then I got injured, like a serendipity moment. I applied to do teacher training as well, and I didn't get in. It was like come back next year. But at which point, I was like, do I really want to come back next year? Because I'm loving my teaching, I'm loving my coaching. And that was how I got into thinking this could be an avenue for me, really.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember I did my badges. I can't remember what I went up to, but I remember us doing the assessment at the end. So you all this build up, so 8 weeks of teaching, training, or whatever, and then you have your live lesson where you're being assessed for 15 minutes. And I remember this poor guy, and he's a poor guy because what happened to him. He basically spends the 15 minutes of what we're supposed to explaining what he's going to do. So 14 and a half minutes in, the coach goes, okay, and you've now got 30 seconds to actually do what you've just told us. And you could just see the poor guy's face. He's just like, I've messed up. And obviously he failed because he just didn't do anything. He just taught us everything he was going to do, but there was no training. And I remember thinking that, so obviously I think he was one of the first guys to go. So it was like, right, get my thing out, done 60 seconds, and then we'll run through how to hit a ball long and whatever else. So yeah, I remember that thing of seeing somebody obviously so nervous, just literally talk at everybody and lose complete sight of what he was there to do. But yeah, I think there was a group of about 30 of us, and I didn't know this, but I think there's only about 50% actually passed that time.
It was really tough back in those days.
And I got through, so I was quite happy.
Well done. Yeah. I didn't pass my first one, actually. It was a bit like my driving test, but the second one, I'd say didn't pass. Come back in a month and redo the assessment. Yeah. But it was tough.
Yeah, it was.
And I hadn't done any coaching at that point. It was a tough environment. Yeah, and that whole I didn't really like the environment in terms it was really football. Like you said, did you want to be professional? And most of the people on the courses were ex-pros or people that...
Yeah.
And for me, who was someone who was into inclusive, fun football. It was
Yeah.
a tough environment because you
It
felt
was.
like an imposter. I did.
Yeah. Well, and,
Yeah.
and you know, for me, it was like, obviously, at the same time I was playing, but obviously starting to realise that I wasn't going to make it, if that makes sense, you know, in that sense of the word. And so, you know, I could make a bit of a career out of it. And I certainly, through my studenty days, I just do 6-7 week blocks coaching, you know, over football, which is great. Absolutely loved it. I remember doing the Soccer Stars scheme.
Really?
Yeah, I used to run that in the afternoons. Do all sports in the morning, and then in the afternoon I'd do the Soccer Stars scheme with the guys and the girls and that. And I loved it. It was brilliant. I used to do it at Clifton College.
Wow, well, that's where I started.
Yeah,
So funny enough, I never knew this about you, Dal.
Did you
So
not?
like,
Yeah.
you know, I'd be calling you up every Saturday morning now. So. Are you free to do some coaching?
Yeah. So I did my badges, and it was a guy. The reason why I did the badges is that we were playing football for a representative side, and I was playing Saturday afternoons, and then I was playing Saturday mornings as well. And the Saturday mornings was like for a church league, and so the guy that ran the church league was the Avon County coach. So he obviously started looking around and going, "What, you want to come and play for my representative side?" I was like, "All right then." And so he was aware of our friend Raf as well. He was aware of him, and he basically got a group of us together and then took us around the country playing tournaments.
Wow.
And I think our best we ever got to was, I think we got to the quarterfinals nationally. Can't remember which competition it was, but we got to the quarterfinals and we ended up playing a team in the Midlands, and they were full of like Americans, you know, they were like travelled like missionary type people, but they were playing for like some university or something. Anyway, I think we lost 4-2 in the end. So it was gutting, but they were good. The American striker, I always remember, he was brilliant. Like literally get the ball, turn, and we got done. But I remember a team played, I think it was like the second round, we played a team in Cardiff. They came over, and wow, this guy was sending players on going, "See him, kill him." It's just the maddest thing. It was like telling people to kill. This is like, you know, we're like 16, 17 years old, and it's like, "See him, kill him." And I think we beat them 5-1. And but why it was such a good game for me, because I had scored a goal, a Matt Letizia type goal. Ball drops out of the sky, I need it, and then volleyed it in. And I thought a Southampton scout was going to be at the game. And there was a guy and his dog. So I'm thinking, this is it. You know, I've had the best game ever. We won 5-1. I've scored a Matt Letizia type goal, which is like Southampton, you know, he was the superstar. And got home and then saw a answer machine message, and it was the guy saying he couldn't make it.
Oh, mate.
So I was devastated, and then it was like, well, you know what? If you want to be a bit, try and get into your local non-league club. So I played a little bit trying to get into Yate Town, and then just really struggled. Good standard, then. Yeah, but I ended up playing like in the reserves and the thirds, and then the kind of interchangeable. They were both the same level. One was sort of like in Somerset, and the other one was sort of like in Bristol, and so we interswap. But I just found it a bit clicky, and then I got injured, and it was then when I thought, well, you know, I'm doing my coaching at Badges at the time, and it was like, you know what, I think I must have been about 20 then, and I just thought, I'm not going to make it now. I might as well just have fun with it. Brilliant. And it was that decision I don't regret, because I had a great time. You know, played with my mates, and I actually ended up playing for Southmead for many, many years. And but at the same time, did the coaching while I was at college to get me through, which was great.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So there you go. You learn something new every day.
Yeah, I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the coaching. So when I ended up running a football team, and then I ended up being a manager, it was like, I've got, you know, I kind of got a bit of an idea of how to do it and stuff, but, you know, it wasn't always about being the number one player. It was like, how do you manage the team? And it's a totally new journey, and it's difficult, right? You know, managing all these egos, and everyone thinks they're great, you know.
Yeah, we're managing kids is probably a little bit easier than managing adults.
Or parents.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
The way we have our model is with one of the clubs we work with. My organisation, Soccer Shooters, provides the coaching.
Yeah.
And then the volunteer parents kind of manage kind of the admin side of it and manage the teams. And I always say, well, we've got the easy job, we manage the kids, and you've got the hard job because you're managing the parents. So.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I realised how bad it had become, because I think we went over to visit Claire's parents, and we went for a walk, and we saw like their football pitches and all marked out, so they're kid-sized pitches, and there were these lines, and I was like, what are these lines for? And they said, no, these lines are so the parents can't cross over them because it's got that bad. And I was like, wow, you know, and then I began to realise what a problem the parents can be to coaching.
Yeah, I mean, now they have like a barrier. It's called a respect barrier as well. So they're actually behind the barrier now.
Oh my gosh!
But I know there's a lot of focus is on that.
Yeah.
But 99% of parents are fine.
Yeah.
But you know, it's always a noisy minority, and obviously sometimes they make some big news. But I think most people want their children just to have fun playing football and to have the opportunity to be the best they can, and kind of that's what we do really. So
so you got your coaching badges and stuff like that, and then obviously so you want to be a teacher. So where did that take you from that moment?
Well, so funny enough, like I say, I worked at Clifton College just part-time, set up a session.
Yeah.
And off the back of that, we set up a football club, a grassroots community football club. Again, like I say, no end game. Let's get some football in the community. There was a need for it. The parents weren't. Clifton's not a hotbed of football, certainly not 20 years ago. I'm more into rugby than football.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But the kids, we're a new generation, the kids actually were into football. So there was that bit of a kind of a mismatch. So it was like, okay, well, we can come in and support you. So we set this club up called Clifton United. And like I said before, we then, as soccer shooters, provide them coaches. I did that while working full-time.
And what were you doing full time?
I worked in financial services in an IT environment. Yeah.
Cool. Very different.
Very different. Yeah.
Like from being out there on the pitch and on the field to being inside, probably in a dark room somewhere.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but it was a nice escape. So I didn't see it. I just loved coaching. I loved being outdoors.
Yeah.
But going back to kind of what your kind of ethos of your podcast is really, I felt like I was flourishing as a person. I thought that I was adding purpose to people's lives.
Yeah.
Supporting busy parents, helping kids be the best they can be, creating an environment where kids just loved football.
Yeah.
So from that, then I decided to see if I could pursue it a bit more. And that's when I started running a few other things. We tried to run a holiday club. That was successful. Run the odd evening session. And then I had opportunity to take voluntary redundancy. And it was nearly 10 years ago. And that was when I went full-time into soccer shooters. That's how we got to where we were, yeah.
That's where you were.
Like I say, a few serendipity moments, really. There's never an end game, but the purpose was, can I help kids?
So you got soccer shooters. So why soccer, not football?
Well, soccer...
Well, so sure.
Soccer's actually... Well, funny enough, we were driving there one day, and I said, I used to call it JW Football. But I wasn't a famous footballer. I was thinking, if I'm going to make this a big company, I need to... People are going to be saying... And then it was
famous in Moldova, yes.
Yeah, there was a James Wilson that ended up playing for Manchester United. So I was thinking, well, I don't want to get confused with him. So anyway, so we drove to... And literally within about 30 seconds, we came up with the term, how about soccer shooters? It was fun. It said the name of what we do.
Yeah.
But the misconception is that soccer's an American term. And it isn't. So soccer comes from... back in the 19th century, how they differentiated between rugby and football. So it was association football and rugby football. So association, I think they then made some abbreviation, became soccer. And the reason why it then, people think it was an American, is it disappeared as a term for many, many years. And if you remember the North American Soccer League in the 70s,
MSL,
people like Pele came over.
That's right.
Bobby Moore. I think George Best played in it.
Yeah.
So all those players, and that was called the North American Soccer League.
Yes.
And that's why I think we associate soccer.
No,
but it isn't.
There you go. That's good.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, for us, it's like it's football, and that's what it is. You know? But conversely, I've joked with a few Americans. Why do you call it football?
Exactly.
Because you rarely kick it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's all catching and throwing and whatever else. So you end up setting this up. What did you feel like on day one then when you get your first contract? You know, like you got your first contract for a school. What does that feel like?
Yeah, that was. I remember when I first kind of stopped the role at Lloyd's. I was sat in my home office, and I was like, "What do I do? What am I going to do? I've got a couple of sessions a week. How am I going to? How is this going to work?" So I called a couple of leisure centres. I called the FA, and I remember calling a school. I remember just telling my wife, "Well, I've had a proper day at work today. In football, I've been calling people." So it was kind of yeah, it was a big step when we first then get through and speak to a school and get their faith, and there's obviously big companies out there, so to kind of get that trust. But I think our first school, as in most things in life, just came from a referral.
Yeah.
So I think we did a kid's birthday party. They then came along to one of our futsal sessions, and then, you know, I noticed she was a governor at a school, and she said, I'll put a word in, and before we knew it. And that's kind of how we always get on, really. It's word of mouth, you know, because you're trusting, looking after children and childcare, it's a big deal. So referrals goes a long way, really.
Yeah, I think for me, you know, I remember when I first started, I think I was, the first time I did it, I was like an assistant. So I went in, I was an assistant to a group lead. What's her name? Her name was Beth, I think. And really, really cool. And then I think it was the next break. So that was like the first break. I think that was like over, I mean, it might have been the Easter break. And then the next was the summer. And I was like, you're on your own, you got it. And now you've got an assistant. And I remember the funniest story, it's not necessarily funny, but I remember having my guys, and we had a briefing meeting in the morning about a guy, little kid, that was notoriously wanting to go to the loo all the time. And what we worked out, the reason why he kept asking to go to the loo is there was a sweet machine, vending machine out there, right? So we've all had this brief, be vigilant, if he asks to go to the loo, take them all with everybody else. So basically comes up to me, right, and he says, I want to go to the loo. I got you a card. Right, we'll do this last little drill, and then we'll all go together. So I turned back round, I think I'd go down to pick up a ball or something, and all of a sudden I hear this guy crying, and then the kid's laughing, and I turn around and he's wet himself. Oh my gosh, you know, so in the end, right, we're going to break now, and we go, and thankfully I had a change of clothes as well, and that was another thing. Apparently this wasn't the first time, so I felt a little bit better, but I always remember like going, oh, how bad I felt, you know, on that. That was like maybe the third session where I was the leader, so it was on me this time. I can defer, you should have gone. So it was the responsibility, but I did love it. I mean, I remember teaching that summer. I had a group of 8-year-olds, and a lot of them were booked in for multiple weeks. Nice. So our 8-year-olds took on the 9-year-olds at different things, and we won. It was great. We played them at water polo. We played all these sports, you know, and soccer. And I think our soccer game went on for ages, and it was 1-1, and then it went to penalties. And we had a young guy called Morris, and Morris was brilliant. And he would do sliding tackles on anyone, like even me. But he was he saved. We made everyone take a penalty, so everyone had to take one, and he saved like 8 of them. So that was it. But I loved it. I loved being outside, working with the kids, seeing the joy on their faces and stuff like that. So like with yourself, you've got this passion for sport, obviously, and now you're doing it. Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm sure you pinch yourself sometimes that you actually got a job doing what you actually enjoy. Yeah.
So funny, one of our kind of underlying mission is to enhance lives through the game of football. Yeah. However that may be. So that may be a kid come along for the first time. It might be a kid with SEN. It might be a kid that we've kind of signposted to a football academy. Yeah. It may be someone we've helped coach. So someone who's got come forth when they were 7 years old and now coaching. But also living my own dream, really, which is working in the game of football. That's what I do. And going back to when I first did my level 2, I remember seeing the guy called Tony McCallum, he was with the FA. He was the coach educator. And I remember him pulling up in his nice car, and then he got a bag of balls out and his bag of kit. And I'm thinking, this is a job I want. I want to go to work and get a bag of balls out the back of a car and go to work. And that's what I do.
No, it's amazing. So like obviously now you're coaching kids from all over the sort of like the region and stuff like that within the area of sports. So how do you deal with that pressure where parents like, you know, little Jimmy, is he going to be a Premier League footballer? I'm sure you get asked that at least more than once a term.
Yeah, so much, but we're very clear on what our value proposition is, really. So if you look at even the term, like you mentioned, soccer shooters. You know, if you come on our website and you ever speak to us, we're clearly not positioning ourselves to be the gap between grassroots football and professional football. Correct. Yeah. That's not where we're positioning ourselves. Mm-hmm. We are positioning ourselves in creating an environment where kids can have fun playing football, and that they become professional greats. So We don't tend to have too many of those conversations personally, but obviously you still get overeager parents, and we just have to be clear on, recently I had to go and speak. I didn't have to, but I have these regular catch up with our parent groups. I remind them of what our ethos is.
Yeah.
I remind them of why we do what we do and what the expectations of them are, and ultimately, it's a children's environment, and we're there to facilitate that. So we're not there to shy come.
Yeah. So do you feel that now, like, what you've got as a role? I mean, obviously there's childcare and stuff like that, but for me and you growing up, let's say, we would probably just play outside for like 4.5 hours.
Exactly.
But we don't do that anymore.
No.
So there's not that space or that environment. I mean, we used to play in the road.
Yeah.
All the time.
Kirby.
Huh?
Bit of Kirby.
Bit of Kirby, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And we don't see that anymore. So now, like, organisations like yourself are allowing us to do that. Whereas
I mean, society's changed, and whether it's safer or not, definitely society's changed on the expectations on childcare. So, like I say, we just go out and play, and that'll be it. Come back in 5 hours. But I still think that's important. So we try, in our holiday clubs particularly, we try to recreate that as much as possible. So yes, we facilitate it with games, and we facilitate it with structure, and facilitate it with a safe environment. But we try to give the voice back to the kids as much as possible. And that's really important as they get to 10, 11, 12. But we even have 13-year-olds come along because they know it's still their environment. It's not school. So
because I look now, and obviously I look past where we grew up, and there are not many spaces.
No.
And then if you go over the fence to get into a school, for example, you've got CCTV everywhere, and you get thrown off.
And all the schools have all got green metal fences around them where you locked all the fields.
That's what I'm saying.
You can't get in them anymore. No.
But whereas like when we were kids, it was like just take the ball, and then you just go and play on the school field for as long as you ever wanted. And I think that for me is probably one of the biggest things that shifted is the space to play, let alone anything else.
That's true.
And
like social norms, what people expect of what their children are doing all day. But kids are still kids, and they still just want to have their own freedoms, don't they? So
yeah. So with your role in terms of soccer shooters and stuff, I think it's as the organisation grows, how do you stay connected? Because obviously there's different demands, isn't there, as you grow something. That do you coach as much as you used to, or do you find yourself more of an organisational head now and rarely coach?
Well, twofold. So I get going back to working in financial services, looking at computer screens, and eventually you end up behind a computer looking at spreadsheets, no matter what you do. So it is really important to keep connected. So funny enough, on Saturday, I went and helped what we call mini shooters, and I just ran half the session because I wanted to reconnect. This is my passion, and you can forget when you get a few stages down away from literally the grass. So I have to keep reminding myself, So I coach a team, so I still coach an under-10 team every week anyway.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's my little team that I stay connected with. I don't coach as much as I want, but that's okay. I feel like now I'm adding value through coach education, through my 20 years experience. And we're now franchising, so I'm now kind of adding that value to allow other, our mission is to engage as many kids as possible through the game of football and all the benefits that brings socially, mentally, physically. So I see now the value and my purpose is to help more people do that. So yes, I'm not necessarily coaching, but I'm helping other people coach. So
you're sort of, that's a good point. So you obviously enjoy making an impact with the kids, but how obviously are you raising up other coaches and training them as well?
Yeah, I mean, one of the proudest things is we've got a guy who works for us. He literally came to us when he was 6. He's now 22, and he works for me full time. I mean,
wow,
I love that. I just love that. And we get a lot of kids come and do their DAV with us. Yeah, and then they may stay till they're 16, and some of them are now working with us, holiday clubs, and giving them life experience. Even if it's a little thing, a 15-year-old at the end of the holiday camp saying, right, who's your player of the day? Stand up in this group of 30 people or 50 people or however many kids are there and do a presentation. Nice. What a great life skill.
Yeah.
First time a little bit nervous, but come the end of the summer, they're leading it. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
great. That's great. So in terms of soccer shooters, then what's the longer term plans? You said you're doing franchises. Do you think it's all going to be based in the UK? You've thought about leaving the shores, and obviously because it's a national world game, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah, I think it's really important to stick to our purpose, which is, like I keep saying, how many kids we engage, how many lives can we enhance with the game of football. And I think a really good way to do that is through franchising, and then there's all the byproducts of that. We're helping coaches create careers, and people, the economy, running franchises and businesses all around the country. So that's definitely our short-term goal. But I do have a little dream about going offshore, and I have a big dream about potentially hitting somewhere in Asia and India in particular, because I think that's a thriving market. It's, again, looking back to what Clifton was like 20 years ago. Yeah, the kids were into football, but the parents aren't necessarily experts, so we can really go and make a difference and enhance lives there, I think, through a soccer shooters franchising. Because
I think that's the thing I find with the sport of football. I mean, I remember going out to Sicily, and I couldn't speak any Italian, right? So I'm out there, and we're all sat in the car, so I've got a lift, and I think Claire picked languages up like that. So then I'm in this car with a group of guys that I don't really know too much, and I don't know how we got onto it, but before we know it, we're all comparing football teams, and we're talking football without me being able to speak English, and yet I understand them. And I think by the end of the week, we were there for 10 days, and by the end of it, we played a football tournament, which we won. I was so pleased. But it was like that language of football I don't think people get, but it was just broke down so many barriers. So even though I couldn't speak Italian, and I might have picked up the odd word, let's say, I felt like I knew them like really well. And even now, like, I'll post something on Facebook, and I've got a whole Italian crew, and I'm watching them grow up. And one of them was, I think he was in, what was it, Serie C or D, I think he played in.
Wow.
Yeah. So you see, but at that level, the gaps are quite big, right? So you've got Serie A, Serie B, and by the time you get to like C or D, it's almost like non-league in terms of level. But he was a striker, and he I keep his name's Stefano, and I keep an eye on him, and he's still playing. Amazing. He's obviously older now, but like when I knew him, he was like the young gun coming through, and now he's probably one of the senior pros, So I think football as an international language is incredible, and I think wherever I go, wherever I travel to, I've been to California, and I met all that. It's people talk football now. It's an amazing language.
I think that's why it's becoming popular in the United States. Obviously, they have a lot of their demographic changing, a lot of Hispanics there. Yeah. But why it's big in Africa and Asia. You don't need anything, do you? You don't need anything.
You don't need the kit, right?
You don't need. You just need a ball and a bit of space.
A ball and a couple of jumpers, and
you're away. Exactly.
That's it. Jumpers in the park, and you get it done. So for me, talk about the other aspects of what you do, because you talked about it's all about spreadsheets and stuff like that, and people don't talk too much about that. Yeah, I want to coach, and they get into coaching and they deliver the sessions, but there is a lot more to coaching than just that. So there's, in Premier League, for example, data. You talked about a lot. Data is really big. So how does that play into what you're doing now in terms of soccer shooters and the aspects of tech?
Oh, well, I mean, we're there to support parents as much as we are children. Yeah. So having tech that works for parents. I mean, we've all been on systems and tried to book tickets, and it's so frustrating. So we need to make sure that's the top of our priority to support parents. So we actually build our own booking system. We don't go down the route of data analysis like you might think of in terms of assessing them, but we do need to sort of think about ways in which we can assess impact socially, physically, and who are in the demographics. So looking at data in terms of are we getting girls involved? How do we get more girls involved? How do we get more SEN children involved? So we're looking at data all the time when kids might drop off. Obviously there's a massive drop off when kids get to secondary school, so kind of looking at data there really. So I guess that's where we're using it. And So interesting you say that, because obviously what comes out of data is trends. So what do you think, since the day you started coaching to now, what do you think's changed the most in the areas of soccer coaching? Wow, I think really good. I mean, the obvious one is the fact that a lot more girls playing football.
Yeah.
Not enough.
Okay.
Not enough, in my opinion, and I still think we've got a cultural change still a lot. That's not a finished piece of work.
Yeah.
But I do think we're heading in the right direction. I was really proud when we had the Euro final and obviously the England women won. And even the next day, everybody's celebrating, and they were celebrating England winning. They weren't talking about the England women winning. So they were talking about England, which is brilliant to talk about it like that. And that is massive change. Can you imagine that 20 years ago?
No, I think that was the big thing, because I had a friend who grew up. There was a couple I knew, they were from Canada, and he said the boys would go and do ice hockey and whatever else, and the girls would always play soccer. And it was like, that's what they did. And then it was like the general thing, oh, we don't want to play soccer because it's a girls' game. And that was the general perception. You know, that's what it was. You know, what? You want to play? And I'm like, such a small world view, right? And now, obviously, a lot of women are playing football and playing soccer. And obviously now the clubs you've got the WSL, which is raising the profile. It's on TV a lot more. Although I must say, I think the team that has a goalkeeper, because I'm big on if a WSL team has a goalkeeper like who can actually goalkeep really well, I think they would win everything. Because I look at some of the goals that are scored and I'm going, I need some more coaching on the area. Skillful wise, they got it. You know, they got the wingers, they can cross the ball, whatever. But I just find the goalkeeping at that level not quite there yet.
Well, I think that's probably a numbers game though, because you need a lot of boys playing to get a few keepers.
Yeah.
I mean, how many boys play in goal? Not many.
No.
So there aren't many girls playing. You're going to have less keepers, just a percentage-wise. So I think it's a numbers game. I think that's probably why we're not getting enough. The quality of the goalkeeping in women is as much because there's less of them.
Yeah, that's a good shout. But you know, because I watched Liverpool the other day. They actually won. The females beat the Manchester United.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
Beat them 3-0, and it was like
take your wins where you can, won't you?
Yeah, exactly. So Liverpool won the other weekend. But it was funny because I thought, because I wouldn't normally watch it, so I was watching it. I was like, I'll see what it is, and it's like, they're 2-0 up. And then I watched it, and the first goal went through the goalkeeper, and I was like, really? And then the second goal was not bad, and then the third goal was a penalty, but it was at Anfield, which is
brilliant. So brilliant, creating. If you can't be it, you can't see it, and creating environments where people can aspire to be.
Because at Arsenal, I mean, they sell out.
Yeah.
You know, which is incredible. Obviously, Liverpool seems to be a bit further down the track.
Yeah.
But Arsenal have always been successful in the past.
Yeah. They got the England captain.
And they got the whole of the Emirates sold out, you know.
Yeah.
And then it was, I remember reading out that the female game was actually banned.
Yeah, that's a really
which is
interesting.
mad.
After the war, wasn't it, I think?
So what happened is, it was banned till like 1970, 1972, something as long as that it was banned for. And the reason why they banned it is when all the guys come back from the war, the female game was massive. You know, they were getting 110,000 crowds.
Crazy.
And so the guys came back to play and they're like going, well, we're not going to get the crowds. So they outlawed women's football to then get the men's game back, which is insane.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It wouldn't happen the other way around, would it?
No, but you know, like, so when you study it out, I was like, really? And it was like banned till like the sort of early 70s. And I was shocked. I thought, how, you know, no wonder the female game has got so far behind, but actually at the time they were ahead. You know, that the game, because obviously the guys went away and that's what everyone watched. They watched the female game.
I think they weren't allowed to play in stadiums. The FA were like,
well, that's how they did it.
Yeah.
So they made a ban on them playing in the stadiums, which then, well, of course, now you can't get the crowd. So therefore, now you've not got the sponsors. You haven't got the and then the guys took the grounds back and carried on as if nothing had happened. And I couldn't believe it. I thought in a modern society, and that's what they did.
Only 1970 it ended. Crazy.
Yeah, and it's not that long ago, right? And I was a bit astounded. So, you know, for me to see the game, you know, obviously there's a lot of investment there, and and obviously the Lions doing what they did, you know, to get to raise the profile. I think for me is a good thing, getting everybody out there, kicking a ball and running around.
Yeah, more people benefiting from the game of football that we love, the better.
So, you know, ask you some football-y type questions now. So who's your favourite player ever?
It's got to be Jack Grealish. Best player I've ever seen. It used to be Gordon Cowans, but it's got to be Jack Grealish.
Jack Grealish?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Best player I've ever seen. I remember I told people this probably 10 years ago. Everyone laughed at the holiday camp all the coaches now. Most expensive player
100
5 years
million?
later.
Yeah. Would you have him back?
I'd have him back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
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 Just everybody would, even though they say they won't, they would.
Well, you never know. He might be coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that was cool. Favorite position
What to watch?
to play? Like when did you play?
I was an old-fashioned centre forward, 6'4" up front.
Just smash it up to Jim. Hold it up.
Bounce off 50 pence head. Yeah.
What was your record tally in a season?
Oh, I never really played much kind of grassroots really.
No?
But no, more playing with mates. It's just kind of what my ethos of my business is. So.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't a prolific goal scorer by any means, but
And what do you think England's chances are for the World Cup? Now we've got a German manager and he's picking all the old players that should have retired.
Picking Liverpool players, ex-Liverpool players.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're one of 6 teams that can win it. It sounds like a cliche, but I think, when you don't win a tournament, there's a lot of, only one team can win it. And just because you didn't win it doesn't mean you weren't really, really good. So.
Which is because you've said that quite a lot, haven't you? Because we joke, we're rubbish because we didn't win it, and you make the point. Well, there's only one team that can actually win the World Cup.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're horrendous. So England won. Who would who? Obviously that's probably your heart speaking more than your head. So who do you think would be favourites?
Oh, coming into the. Why I wouldn't look much further than Brazil, really, or Spain. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Spain would be up there for me.
Yeah.
I think that Argentina are probably a bit. Messi's a bit at the end of his career now,
exactly.
isn't he? So I don't think you can carry him again. Maybe France again.
Yeah,
they've got some good players. If you think about them, they're 1 to 11. They're pretty.
Yeah.
So, last couple of questions then. Apart from soccer, is basketball your number 2 sport? Do you think?
Yeah. I do love cycling as well.
Do you?
Yeah, and obviously I like surfing as well. It's my thing I do as an individual.
You moved house for it, surely.
Yes. So I love basketball. Yeah.
And what's your team?
Boston Celtics.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Larry Bird.
And Jason Tatum these days.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
So from me, we're going back to purpose and that and whatever. What would you? Somebody sat there thinking of starting a business, and maybe they have got their retirement money, redundancy money come in. What would you say to that person? Now you're on the other side and having. So you got your pot of money, and you go, do I do it? Do I not? What would you say to that particular person?
Yeah, very interesting. I think it's follow your purpose, not your passion. So. Just because you like something doesn't mean you should necessarily work in it. I mean, like I said, I really like surfing. I have no interest in working in it. That's my passion. Happens to be that I managed to create a business in something I'm passionate about. But that's not why I do it. It's my purpose, which is helping kids, engage kids in physical activity.
Yeah.
So I would think really, really hard about what your purpose is before you invested your time and effort. That's what my biggest tip would be.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it will seem very much like a job, and once your passion goes, because passion can come up and flow, but purpose stays there.
Yeah, I use that as the example. You can leave, because when you are purpose-led, when circumstances change, it's the conviction that carries you through. And like for yourself, you obviously went through a tough time through the pandemic, right? Because your business was effectively closed because of the circumstances.
Yeah.
How did you would have had that purpose must have been really in front of your eyes to want to keep going.
Yeah, and that definitely kept us going. In fact, so I would say that I thought children needed soccer shooters and needed organisations like us more than ever. So I was absolutely determined that we were going to put something on, and we did some online Zoom classes, and as soon as we could open, we did some socially distant classes.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely determined. We were there for the kids. We'd put on network events, Zoom classes. We'd have communities where they could come to. And the overriding thing, yes, kids love football. Yes, they love running around. But the overriding thing was that kids miss being sociable with their friends. and it
Yeah.
made me feel more and more how important what we did was. So I was determined. But you say we had a tough time. Yes, it was nerve-wracking, but 2020 was our best year ever. Because once we did open the gates, and because we showed up, and because people trusted us, we were really busy that year. And off the back of that, that's how I built the business even more, really.
So you moved to Devon to be closer to the waves and to the stuff. And so you travel quite a lot now, backwards and forwards. How does that work? Is it like the weekends you got to yourself and the weekdays
I travel,
soccer shooters?
Yeah, I travel like two or three nights a week. You know that you talk about working in your business, not on it.
Yeah.
So actually, it forced me to start working on it more and not in it. So actually, it was kind of, family circumstances. We moved out of the city, we moved away, and it allowed me to work on the business, not in it. And actually, so it kind of helped really. But it's like going back to, I just need to make sure I engage with the kids.
And what it's like in Devon? Are they all surfing, or are you trying to get them to play soccer?
It's a really, really big football community down there.
Is it really?
Massive, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I take a tour down every year. We do this called Surf and Turf, so we go on a surf camp and a footy camp, bringing my two passions together.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. And we play local teams, and it's brilliant, and they're really good. Yeah, it's a massive football community. You'd be surprised. Yeah. I'd put a shout out at Braunton. They're a really good club that really engage lots of kids.
Is that Broughton Sands?
Yeah,
right?
Saunton Sands.
Saunton Sands. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So bringing my passions together there for a weekend away.
So you're thinking of doing a surfing school as well? Or?
Oh no, I'll leave that to we hand that over to a surf school to manage.
Yeah.
I don't want the insurance bill for that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So apart from surfing, how else do you unwind?
Watching football.
Yeah.
I like to watch football, but I being outdoors a lot, cycling, surfing. That's what I do really. Being outdoors and being physically active and walking the dog. Yeah.
Walking the dog.
Walking my little dachshund. Yeah.
So we've got to ask this question. So do you think they're going to win the Champions League, Villa?
I think we've got a chance.
Got a chance?
Yeah, I think we've got a chance, yeah.
So you also remember like the 80s, 81 was it?
81 won the league, 82 we won the European Cup.
And
So
and were you the most fancied team then to win it then?
No, not at all.
So there was a bit of a parallel story emerging, you would think.
Yeah. So when I was 10 years old, we were the best team in Europe. In fact, we won the Super Cup the year after, so I thought being an Aston Villa fan was amazing.
This is all normal.
That's a good sense.
You don't know until it's gone, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like you need that conviction that I ain't going to change my team. I'm going to stick for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, Jim, for me, it's great to sort of like when I talk to you about soccer and coaching and stuff. It takes me back to when I did it as a coach and stuff, and I think it's a great thing because I don't see. We've got that PlayStation generation, if you like, that just stay indoors and play it on a machine, but don't actually get out there and play it. But growing up, I remember, it's like, there's the ball. Thanks very much. Shut the door. See you in 5 hours, and go out there and play with your mates and soccer. So you providing those environments for kids to thrive and engage, I think is a great thing. How would, obviously, they've heard your story. How would someone get in touch with you or find out about your classes or want to become a coach or get involved?
Yeah, so our website is www.soccershooters.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's a home to all of our communication, including franchising. So if you want to add some purpose and you're interested in, helping children enhance their lives through football, get in touch.
It's awesome to have you on the sofa with us today. So thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Dal, and really enjoyed having a chat with you.
Yeah,
and, thanks for all your support over the years and inspiration.
No, it's good, and we'll get you back and get you back on the sort of like the show and stuff like that. But it'd be good to see how it unfolds, and I really, I love to see soccer shooters in India. I think that'd be great because they're obviously a big country. There's loads of opportunity there, but definitely need it. So
watch the space. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Dal.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the Purpose People podcast. How you can help us is to like and subscribe our YouTube channel. You can also subscribe to our podcasts on Apple, Spotify, Google, and Amazon. That helps us get our message out there to help people go after their dreams, double down on it, and be successful in life on their terms.